Well, hey, let's kick this off. We've got kind of a lot to cover. So first of all, thank you everyone for your time. We do certainly appreciate it. Your time is valuable, and so we want to fill that time with some good information for you. So my name is Tim Leduc. I'm an account executive here at PairSoft, coming up on 3 years here. And with me today, I've got Tammy Bauer, our senior solutions consultant, been with the company for over 17 years. And she's got a wealth of knowledge in many, many ERPs. Today, we're going to be focusing on Business Central. So most of you should have gotten an email with the agenda. Tammy's going to go through kind of the top five things that we see and really like and appreciate about the integration that we have with Business Central. So we'll get to those. Real quick, before we jump into the demo, I always like to kind of share the story of PaperSave. I think that story really helps you understand kind of our motivation and where we've come from, and it certainly affects our future too. So real quickly, PaperSave was started over 20 years ago now as a document storage solution. And over those 20 years, we continue to add to the product, and we've become this bigger, larger platform with many, many integrations with many different ERPs. And we've grown into an AP automation platform. And so what we want to show you today is kind of some parts and pieces of that growth and kind of our favorite stuff. PairSoft, if some of you have heard the name PaperSave or seen us at different events, over the past years, PaperSave has been around a long time. PairSoft as a brand is fairly new. We went through a mergers and acquisitions in 2021, and we've got a couple of more sister companies now coming into the fold. So over the next year, be expecting more and more of these webinars because we're going to be coming out with more features and products and integrations and the like. So just wanted to share that. People know the name PaperSave, but PairSoft is kind of new, and they're like, "What's that all about?" So that's why. What that means for you is that we get to pump, more into the products and continue to make them better. So that's a little bit about PairSoft. Without further ado, I think I'm going to pass it over to Tammy for the webinar and the deeper dive into the product. We do have a Q&A portion as well at the end. So definitely as she's going and talking through those parts and pieces, definitely put those questions in the chat. We'll try to get to as many of those at the end as we can.
Great.
Hey,
Wonderful. Thank you.
pass it off to you.
All right. Thank you, Tim. And thank you all for joining. There is a large group, and that's always exciting. I've been doing these webinars and representing the PaperSave brand now for over 17 years. So it's always exciting to know that there are still a lot of people out there who want to know more about us. So I'm going to show today my top 5 tips and tricks or features that I believe really help set not only our product aside from others, but also lend themselves into helping you all do your jobs better, faster, more efficient, giving you time to do things that are more important, right? So that's really what our goal is here at PairSoft, is creating these software programs to help you do all of that and not pass around paper. So I'm going to start out with the very first one. Now, Tim had mentioned that this is going to focus on BC. I'm also going to throw in as well GP, because I know that there are some, still using GP, which is great. We have GP was our very first integration to an accounting system. So we've got a lot of clients using GP and BC as well. So the first thing I like to talk about is if you're the person on the line right now that is manually keying in all of the data in an invoice transaction. Again, in GP, it's an invoice transaction, and in BC, it is a purchase invoice transaction. When you type in a vendor's name, you get a lot of detail that automatically populates. Well, with PaperSave, we can do that too. So by introducing and leveraging PaperSave, you're not going to lose any of that automation that you already get with inside of your accounting system, BC or GP. So when you get a vendor and PaperSave completes the OCR, optical character recognition, and we find that vendor information, validating it against your BC or GP data, you're going to get populated automatically the payment terms, the remit to address, the default GL expense, the currency, maybe the tax ID or code that you're using, all of that. And so I'm going to demonstrate that. I'm not just going to give you tips and tricks. I'm actually going to show you how that works inside of PaperSave. And whether you're using this, again, for GP or Business Central, BC, this is going to happen. Now, normally, this is a document in the workflow. I'm not going to go through any of the workflow. And normally, the vendor name would already be populated because the optical character recognition, the OCR, is filling that information in. But then if you don't see me do it, you don't see all of the data get populated like you would inside of your data entry screens that you're using. So I'm going to just type the vendor name in so that you can actually see what is happening. So when I type in, oops, well, you have to type in the right word, UPS. This literally is pulling the data from inside of, I think this is a GP one, but it certainly could be a Business Central. It's saying, yes, you have a vendor name in there with those initials. And so as soon as I populate that, obviously you see that vendor ID pop up, but you'll also notice as I tab through things, the vendor distribution pops in down here. If I scroll down even further, you're going to see terms, primary, remit to, the currency. And if there were any tax ID codes on that vendor card, it would also populate. Also the banking information, all of that will populate. Now, in terms of the due date, it will populate based on the terms that are pulled from the vendor record, but certainly you can also change that if you want to pay this later, or they've got different terms, an early discount pay date, you can do that. But what I like to point out here is not only are we doing the data entry for you on the vendor name, the invoice date, the dollar amount, and things like that, we're also leveraging those defaults that you have already set up in your accounting system. So PaperSave is giving you the best of both worlds, eliminating all the data entry that you need to do. Now, I'm not going to talk about this today in great detail, but I do want to mention, if you're using the purchase order modules with inside of GP or Business Central, we'll find the PO number and also pull in those line items. So that's another thing that we do, whether it's a two-way or a three-way match. So that's the first tips and tricks that I like to talk about, is a feature that we're going to leverage all of those defaults with inside of the accounting system. The second one is interrelated documents. Now, I was told that just recently that term didn't really make sense to somebody. So I'm going to explain what I mean by that. Let's first take the accounting system. In your accounting system, you've got vendor records, cards is what they're called, vendor cards. And each vendor card or vendor has an ID. Well, when you create, whether it's a purchase order, a receiving transaction, or an invoice transaction, you're entering in that vendor. So whatever those transactions, or payment, right? Whatever those transactions are, they are interrelated to one another within inside of your accounting system because of that vendor name, vendor ID, right? So those transactions are related to that vendor. Well, PaperSave does the same exact thing with the documents. So whether you are capturing a document to the vendor card, maybe a W-9, change of address, certificates of insurance, or you're creating, PaperSave is creating that invoice transaction with the invoice and tying it to a purchase order or receiving transaction, all of those documents that you might capture at each of those different record types are interrelated to one another. So that means you can go to just one of those areas in your accounting system to get the documents you need. So let's demonstrate that. Let's go back out here to my home page here, or my demo environment, and I'm going to actually show it both from a transaction or a vendor record. Let's do a vendor record inside of Business Central. So let's say I wanted to find all of the documents in the system related to a vendor. And I'm just going to pick the first one, 360 net. Well, under the vendor card, under process, this is where you're going to find PaperSave. I can show just the documents related to the vendor card, W-9, change of address. But if I slide over one to the right, I see interrelated documents. When I click on this, think about going to the filing cabinet and pulling out the full file folder on 360 net. You'll notice here I've got different document types. I've got purchase invoices, purchase orders. I might have receiving transactions. I could have receiving transactions, payment transactions. And if I wanted to see them, I could flip through them like a slideshow. And here's an invoice, here's a PO, I might have a packing slip. I also can look at these by record type. So if I only wanted to see maybe record type that equals purchase invoice, right? I can just say, purchase invoice. And now it's going to narrow that down to just that record type. And I get a lot more information, right? So I get the vendor, obviously the document number, record number. I can flip through them like a slideshow, just like I showed you, or I can share them. Maybe somebody who's not a Business Central user wants to see all of the documents, invoices for a vendor. I can share it via email. Now, these people can get an email that's just a hyperlink inside, and I didn't have my Outlook open, but that's okay. It's going to show me an email. Here it is with that hyperlink. If they have the rights to view the documents, all I have to do is send them this email. They click on this hyperlink. PaperSave's going to open for them. And guess what? They get to flip through all of those invoices that I just did by navigating to that vendor record. Inside a GP, I'll show it to you another way. Let's go to the purchasing area. And let's go to, I'm going to go to an enter match that is not posted yet, but you could go through the inquiry as well. If I come up to additional in GP, PaperSave is always under additional. I can say show interrelated. Now think about what's interrelated to an enter match transaction or a purchase invoice transaction, the PO, the receiver, maybe a payment if it's posted, right? I can say show interrelated. And again, pulling out all of those documents. Now I have one PO and one receiver and one invoice, but if somebody wants to see that, again, I could print them, I could share them. Maybe I want to send them to the vendor. I can send them as attachments, or obviously that link, or me. If I want to look at them in a slide deck, like a slideshow, I can see the packing slip and all of that information. So we're electronically stapling them together, if you get what I mean by that. So that is a real nice feature with inside of PaperSave that automatically happens. There's nothing special that you have to do to get that to work other than create the transactions and put those documents in. So that's the second feature that I think is very beneficial for an accounting department, especially when you're trying to get all of those documents together. You have that automatically with inside of PaperSave. All right. The third feature, I used to be an accounts payable admin many years ago. So long ago, I hate to even admit the systems we were using back then. But I never knew where my invoices were, except for the red folder that I had photocopies of the invoices that I sent out manually for approval. I had to have a photocopy so I knew at the end of the week which ones I got back and which ones I didn't, right? I still didn't know where they were. I just knew I didn't get them back and I had to do my research. Well, PaperSave has this active invoice dashboard that is literally real-time information that tells you exactly where the invoices are in the workflow, who has them, what step, when they're due, what the dollar amount is. And it's a simple click of the button. So let me go back out to my demo environment, and I'm going to go to PaperSave's home, and I'm going to open up my workflow. And this is, as soon as I open up my workflow, that's the tab, that's tile on my homepage, open up a workflow. because it being PaperSave already knows who I am, it takes me directly to my workflow, and it shows me my dashboard. So basically what this is saying is, in my workflow, from the inception, the actual capturing of that document, that invoice, all the way to before it gets into the accounting system by a hit of a button, I've got 48 documents, invoices, that total just over what, $222,000. Because we're capturing, remember when I showed you those defaults that we're bringing in, we're capturing the invoice date, the dollar amount, calculating the due date, either by the terms or off of the invoice. We're putting these into buckets, right? We know there are 14 that are 15 days out or more. We know what the total amount is. If I was in accounting today, I would be very concerned about these 3 that are due in the next 1 to 5 days. Well, all I have to do is click on that, and I can see now what step of my workflow they're in. I have a workflow. One of the steps is called escalation review. I can see who owns them, when they're due, and the dollar amount, the vendor, all of that information, right? Maybe I want to send Sammy a little nudge to say, hey, get in there and approve these. Well, I can by just going down here to that share via email link again, right? He'll get that notification. I also can redirect these. If I find out that Sammy is out of the office, I can send these to somebody else, right? He's not going to be back by the time they're due. I can send this notification or this to somebody else and just change the owner to, I know Larry is his superior. I can change the owner. And as soon as I do that, Larry's going to get an email saying, hey, Larry, you've gotten things escalated to you. So there is a lot of ways that you're going to be able to not just see where things are, but notify people that they've got, things that are coming due, or even alter who needs to approve them. Bottom right, I can see in my workflow the different steps. Now, I've got different steps in my workflows. We're not going to get into that today, but they are customer defined. So we can configure a workflow that mirrors your exact process. But more importantly, I can toggle over here and I can see who owns what. So I just found out that Sammy's out of the office. I changed those 3 to Larry, but I can see here that he's got 5 more. Well, if I find out he's not going to be back into the office until, let's say, March 15th, I can come here and see what other items might be past due by the time he gets back, and be proactive and change these 4 as well. So this active dashboard is dynamic, meaning as those invoices come in, as they move steps, as they become closer and closer to the due date, this is going to update itself automatically, and accounting is always going to know where those documents are. All right. So I think that's very important. You have insight as to where those documents are at any given time. All right. The next favorite thing of mine, quick tips and tricks, or my favorite beneficial features, is the historical dashboard. So this dashboard is going to give you all of the information on every invoice that's passed through the PaperSave's workflow and now is sitting associated to invoice transactions inside of Business Central or GP, right? So think about when the auditors come in and the auditors want to see all of the invoices from last, 2023, August of 2023. Well, if you don't have PaperSave, it's going to be probably pretty difficult to get those pieces of paper or electronic documents. But with PaperSave, again, I'm going to come into my workflow, same thing, but I can now choose my dashboard from here, and I can say historical. This dashboard is giving me all of the documents. Now I'm looking at it year to date up at the top right here. It's looking at year to date. I've got January and February, but I can also go down and look at last year's and drill right into September. I said August, but let's look at September. I can drill down further by looking at a specific week, right? Say, show those documents. There's all the documents. There are 17 in the historical workflow or historical dashboard that were processed in the week of September, 37th week of the year, right? In the month of September. I can also come up here and I can look at all 95 or whatever it might be. Now, again, I'm in a demo environment, so there really isn't a lot of data. But if I have these, I can export this out, share it again via email or a link. I can print it, I can download them. There's a lot of ways that I can share this information, but it's very quick access to it. And I just looked at last year's, but if you want to look at a specific date range or quarter, you have the ability to just click on that and get that information. Another piece of the pie that is being filled in for you, I call this the naughty and nice list, right? These are the people that approve things fast. These are the people that approve things slow. Now, again, being a former accounts payable admin, you probably already know who those people are, but now PaperSave is actually going to give you the stats on those individuals. Now, all of my people really are not very good, but the bad are really bad. And you can see I'm in that list as well. All right. So that is the historical dashboard. And I think, again, getting to the documents very quickly is one of the benefits around that. Then we have search. So we can get to documents in a specific way, those interrelated documents, the historical documents, active documents. But what if you want to find a needle in the haystack? Where do we buy this printer from? Or where do we buy this chair from? Or maybe you want to get all of the documents for a specific group of transactions, right? Dollar amount between for a certain date range, and you want to create those types of queries. PaperSave has a simple search and advanced search, and we also integrate with the query tools inside of the accounting systems. So I'm going to go there first. That's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to come down to GP first. And honestly, I did this, I did a little sample here before, so you guys didn't have to see me. Whoops, let's go here. You didn't have to see me build this. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm just going to say, give me in GP, they've got the smart list. Give me all of the invoices, or all of the AP transactions that are invoices between a certain dollar amount, right? So GP pulls, gives me all of those transactions. Now there are 190. Where's PaperSave? Under additional. I can say show documents from, or not add, sorry. I didn't want to do that. That's okay. We're going to say show documents from query. That was an end user error there. Let's say show documents from query. I could add documents as well, but I'm going to show these. So PaperSave, that was 190. Imagine trying to pull those. Well, here we go. We've got all of them right here in this query. Again, I can always click on them, flip through them like a slideshow. PaperSave is also giving you the ability, I haven't talked about this yet, but we can see who's approved them. We're tracking all of this. When was it approved? Who approved it? And I can see all of this as I flip through the document, right? And look at all of the approval process. That's inside of GP. Business Central, you can build these lists, and I'm just going to go to the purchase invoice. I can build these lists from here, right? I'm just going to give me all of the invoices between 5 and 1,500. Here they are. I want all those documents. I come up to process, show documents. Again, PaperSave's going to open, and I've got this list of documents that I can see. And again, share them if I want to. Oops, let me click this. Share them if I want to, and download them, flip through them, all of that. I can do that from this list, right? So PaperSave also has its own tool, and I'm going to come out here to my home page, and I can search for documents. So I like to say, let's find that needle in a haystack, right? Where do we buy something from? Well, I'm just going to type in the word uncle because I think that's a unique word. This is content search. We're literally searching for any document in the system that contains the word uncle. Well, if I click on any of these, again, I can see the vendor. Here it found the word uncle. Again, all of this information, if it went through a workflow, all of that. But that is a quick retrieval of any document that contains a specific word. All right. Again, anytime you get a group of documents like this, PaperSave is going to give you the ability to do a lot of things. And that kind of leads me to the next and the last. This was 5A and 5B. I'm going to give you my last one, which is an honorable mention. I've been showing you how you can get to the documents and flip through them, and you might be able to share them. But I like to also show the export to Excel, because that's another way to share the data along with the document. So export to Excel. I'm just going to go out to one of those lists that I created, right? Maybe it's the smart list. Maybe it was the list from the historical documents. However you got to this list, I can now export this out into an Excel spreadsheet. I'd hide a lot of those columns. Listen, I've got PaperSave out there for a lot of things, and we give a lot of documents, a lot of information, but I can export this out. This is 249 documents, right? And we can, I'm just going to hide some of these, but whatever the data is across that, I don't have a lot of information here, but you can share that. So if it was that smart list, I'd have the vendor name, the transaction information, the dollar amount, the due date, the GL distribution, or if it was the list from Business Central, I'd have all of that information. I could export it out, maybe share it with the auditors, right? And they can see all of that data along the spreadsheet. And then I also give them the ability to look at the document. So there's a lot of ways to share that information. And the last part is obviously exporting it out. I know this was a lot of information to share it in like 20, 25 minutes. I think we might even have a few minutes left over for Q&A, but we can offer a streamlined workflow, eliminating manual data entry, giving you the ability to access those documents quickly without having to rifle through a OneDrive or your email or the filing cabinet. So Tim, I'm going to turn it back over to you to kind of wrap things up. Maybe there are some questions that we can answer live over the next few minutes.
We'll do a couple of quick hitters. We did get a lot of questions in the chat, so thank you for those. Whatever we don't answer here right now, we'll definitely get back with you. One of the questions is, where'd it go? Can we send reminders for pending invoices in PaperSave?
Yes, absolutely. So that email that I was sending to Sammy or whomever it was to remind them was one that I'm doing by myself, right? But PaperSave will automatically send people reminders as frequently as you want them to. Great question. Yep.
Fantastic. Is there special configuration we need to set up the interrelated documents in order to get those to work?
Nope.
Not.
Nope. It automatically happens because we're leveraging the same metadata that your accounting system is to link those transactions together in the system. And really it boils down to the vendor ID. And if it's a purchase order related, the PO number. That's really what it boils down to in a nutshell.
Fantastic. Thank you. And we actually had several different comments, and this might be a slight bit off topic, but in and around requisitions, do you want to talk about how that, what you can do in PaperSave versus our other product and speak to that?
Yes. Yeah, that's a great question. So as Tim talked about PairSoft bringing several software products together 3 years ago, what that has enabled PairSoft to do is really leverage strong features around PaperSave's AP automation, another product's procurement and payment, so that we can offer a procurement to pay solution. So on our procurement side, whether you're using the PO module inside of the accounting system or not, you can actually have a PO requisition approval process with punch out catalogs, shopping lists. You can even set things up that say, okay, for anybody that's a new employee, these are the items we need to purchase. It can go through an approval process. You can capture documents to those as well. They're all stored in PaperSave. So again, that's that relationship that it will build automatically. And that can either create the purchase order transaction inside of the accounting system, or it can live with inside of our procurement, right? system. So again, whether you're using that PO module inside of the BC or GP, we can handle that. And then we go all the way to payments. So if you're interested in payments as well, that wasn't the question, but we can also handle payments too for you. So.
Yeah, the workflow that we can offer, just it keeps getting longer and longer, but also faster and faster because we do all those pieces, right? So great stuff, Tammy. I want to be cognizant of everyone's time. First of all, we will get back. There's a number of questions still coming in even. So thank you for those. We'll get back to you. I did want to just quickly speak to kind of like where we go from here, right? Inevitably, this brings up great questions, and there's like, hey, we want to change this or tweak that. So as far as the process goes, we have some information on the screen. Definitely email in to kind of pose your questions there and so forth. What we typically do for deeper dive discoveries is set up a call with one of our people. We have account managers and account executives, depending on kind of the audience. And we just set up a quick call, kind of go over what you're looking for. Joseph, who's on this call, he can kind of reach out to you and schedule that with the appropriate person. And then we'll connect with Tammy thereafter to kind of walk you through what that demo of that particular functionality looks like. So it's super easy. It's basically total of an hour and 15 minutes. A 15-minute quick discovery call and then an hour demo. Sometimes it's not even that. So we try to make it quick and easy for everyone. We are running about 2 weeks out right now. We've got a great bit of inquiries coming in right now, which is fantastic. But we will get back to you within a couple of days as far as the Q&A goes, and certainly love to talk to you further. We will get this recording out to everyone. We're so appreciative of your time. Any closing remarks from you, Tam?
No, I look forward to being on a one-on-one demo with anybody who's interested. So that's great. I'll love all the questions.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
Well, again, appreciate everyone's time. Have a great week. Look forward to talking with you individuals regarding your questions. We'll be in touch. We'll be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.